A very good evening, a warm welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick and Pay, and welcome to, once again, somewhere different. The world is opening up, and that means I'm on the move a little more than I have been for the last year and a half, but not always into the winelands. Instead, I find myself in the rather grand surrounds of one of these suites at Pazula, where I am with the BMW team for some golf for a couple of days. But I've taken time out of the golf course, very selfless of me, to do something else I love doing, which is drink wine and celebrate therein. And celebration is the theme, not just for today, but for the course of this week. You'll remember a couple of months back, we announced officially in a rather special show this year's top 10 in the Standard Bank Chenin Blanc top 10 winners. And we did so with great excitement because, once again, there was not just a terrific selection of wine, but a selection of wine that spoke to different styles, different interpretations of the art of Chenin Blanc. And it really is an art in South Africa at the moment, and one that becomes ever more impressive with every passing vintage. And so we gave all of our winners time to catch their breath after the whirlwind of excitement and publicity that followed the announcement, and then set up a couple of shows, the first one this evening and the second on Thursday, with all of the winners. We dragged the winemakers in, and they'll be chatting to us today and on Thursday, and speaking about Chenin Blanc in general, speaking about the wines which they've produced, which have made their way into this particular top 10. And it's a formidable top 10 for a number of reasons, not least of all because the team judging these awards included people like James Peterson, Higo Jacobs, Melo Lambert, a really, really great selection of South African wine experts. And they have come up with 9 wine brands and 10 wines that do great justice to this wonderful space in which Chenin Blanc finds itself at the moment. So let's see who our guests are for this evening. Give them a very, very warm welcome. You will recognize the godfather of Chenin Blanc in South Africa, Mr. Ken Forrester. Alastair Rimmer is with us as well, although he's got a slightly different role since the last time he joined us on the show. RJ Buerta also with us. And then Heinrich and Herman from Stellenrust, the dream team. They're in, guys. Welcome. Lovely to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Hello there. Hello, thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's kick off with the Godfather himself. Can I at least count the number of times you and I have had conversations about Chenin Blanc, and you'd have a defining feature of those conversations that you are almost excited about Chenin Blanc as Ina is, despite having had so many of them. And I get the feeling when it comes to something like this, where we're celebrating not just Chenin Blanc in general, but excellence in Chenin Blanc, that broad smile becomes even more firmly fixed in place.
Dan, Chenin Blanc is just a gift that keeps on giving. I mean, it's a never-ending Copernica of new wines, new people making Chenin, new vineyards, finding great new Chenin Blanc sites. And Chenin Blanc offers there's just so much work to do on Chenin still. It seems like we've only just started, but we're having fun, and we're finding new vineyards, finding new sites, making new Chenins, and just having the best time. It's amazing.
We're celebrating today the guys who made in the top 10. I think it's important right at the start to just ensure everybody understands and appreciates the neutrality of this space, because there might be people watching, hang on, Ken Forrester, he's the chairman of Chenin Blanc. He's clearly just awarded himself a prize. You've got no idea what's going to happen, and neither do the judges, because this is done completely blind, and even the judges themselves, let alone you, have got no idea where the top 10 is headed and which wines are getting which marks.
No idea. No idea whatsoever. I leave it all up to Ina. There's a panel. All the input from the panel is totally independent. The panel are all qualified wine tasters. They all have a qualification, which is a critical part of the kind of judging process. And every year, I mean, you see the consistency of the panel every year in the people who constantly, the producers who are always there. I mean, Stellenrust is always there. They've booked a place for themselves for next year, I believe. And I think the Morgenzon as well. They seem to have a season ticket for the competition. I mean, they just never miss. So you've got some really great consistency coming through, great Chenin Blanc producers, and just people who are interested in the wine and producing fantastic wines for, special occasion, for everyday drinking. Chenin Blanc really fits all of that.
The wine is judged by the panel, and you've referred to them, as have I. Although you weren't part of the judging process, you, like I, were on that call where the winners were announced. And we got some feedback from James Peterson and a couple of the other judges on the process. Remind people who didn't see that initial show when the Standard Bank top 10 was confirmed, what were the judges' takeaways? What were they seeing in terms of style and interpretation of Chenin Blanc? And what was their overall view of the state of the grape at the moment?
They're more and more, they're taking the category seriously. We're seeing the judges kind of impressed by the styles of wines that they're tasting. And the kind of points difference between the top 10 and the top 20 is tiny. I mean, we could just almost have a top 20 in the same category. I mean, there's just that many great Chenin Blancs out there. And we've seen a consistent more and more entries every single year. We're in our 8th year of the competition, I believe, and we've seen more entries every single year. So, the market's interested, the producers are interested, the judges are excited, and in fact, they've had nothing but praise for the quality of the wines that they're judging there. So, we're seeing, I think, a great upheaval in Chenin Blanc, and I think more and more Chenin Blanc coming to the marketplace. It's just delicious drinking wine. It's almost like a guarantee. If you want a great white wine to take home, go get yourself some Chenin.
Well, let's move on to another one of our guests who I suspect will echo exactly those sentiments, but somebody we also need to get a bit of an update from, Alastair. Last time we caught up, we were sitting down over fine Portuguese food and some wine from a different part of Stellenbosch. You've now settled into the new role at de Morgansen. Give us an update. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. Thanks, Dan. I mean, it's an awesome property to be on. It's a unique viticultural site within the Great Ward, or on the great site of Stellenbosch, and it poses its own challenges. And as you know, Chenin is near and dear to my heart. It always has been, and it always will be. And I couldn't leave one venerable Chenin producer and go to somewhere that wasn't as at least held in as high regard. So, coming to de Morgansen's been an exciting challenge for me. It's moving from a broader setup to a smaller, more focused setup, focusing on an estate rather than multitude of properties. And therein lies the challenge, is to give that unique expression of an estate, but keep the consistency of quality year in, year out. And it's been a lot of fun so far. I'm looking forward to the challenge. The bar has been set high. 7 consecutive vintages have been in the top 10. I don't want to be the one that drops the baton, so to speak.
No pressure at all. And people watching this might think, well, hang on, Alastair was at Kleine Zalze. He's moved to de Morgansen. They're not that far away. Surely it's stepping out of one role into another that's almost identical. What have been the big differences, the big changes in terms of where you were and where you are now as a winemaker?
I don't have RJ to pick up all the pieces when I make a mistake. No, in all seriousness, I mean, it's, the setup at Kleine Zalze, we were working with a multitude of vineyards across Stellenbosch with regards to the Chenins, whereas here we're focusing on one parcel. So where Stellenbosch at KZ, we had I always used to refer to it as puzzle pieces to put together. And depending on the vintage, we arranged the puzzle pieces slightly differently to get to an unbelievably consistent style and quality level year in, year out. Here we're dealing with one estate, and you've got to deal with what Mother Nature gives you on a year, and through careful viticulture and careful winemaking, get to that consistency of style. The reserve Chenin here is produced off an old block of vineyard that produces very consistent fruit every year, year in, year out, which helps. But the smaller scale, the slightly detailed, and less place to hide. If you get it wrong, there's one puzzle piece here every year, and if you don't get that puzzle piece as to represent the whole picture, you're going to struggle to have a top 10 wine.
You've probably got more reason to celebrate than most on this particular show with these particular awards, because by my calculation, you've effectively made 3 of the top 10, Alastair.
Yeah, I can't really take credit for any of the 3. I've always said that even in my days at Kleine Zalze, I used to take the credit for RJ's hard work. RJ is the winemaker at Kleine Zalze, and he has been through my whole tenure there. And they're really a reflection of his hard work and the viticulturist's hard work. I was there sort of as a cheerleader to point them in a direction and give opinion. And much with the Morgenzon. I mean, I wasn't here. This wine was bottled and done and dusted by the time I got here. So I can take even less claim to the Morgenzon 2020 that made the top 10 this year.
It's part of the genetic makeup of the South African winemaker, modesty in industrial volume. So let's try and peel some of that modesty away by heading over to RJ. Before we ask you about your own particular opinions on the wine, RJ, the man who's just given you all of the credit for all of the wine, I presume he actually did do a little bit of work from time to time when he was at Kleine Zalze.
Yeah, Alastair likes to throw the bat in my way. No, he definitely did a lot of work, and it was actually amazing. It was an amazing couple of years at Kleine Zalze working together. We had a hell of a lot of fun. We tasted some amazing wines together, and we worked hard together. A lot of these sessions where we taste and we brainstorm and we put blends together, we sit around a table, we taste, and being a broader spectrum winery, we taste a hell of a lot, and we don't always taste the same. So there was some hectic discussions sometimes about what his philosophies were and things that I wanted to do, and also what the other winemakers wanted to do in our team. That was and still is probably the best thing working here, right, is that we have an amazing team. We have 3 other winemakers still working here as well. Everyone with their own idea, their own perspective of what wine should be, and all wanting to contribute to Kleine Zalze and our Chenin production. So yeah. Alastair worked a hell of a lot more than he would say himself.
All right, there's a lot of Chenin to be spoken about today, but let's quickly have a look at the last little stretch for Kleine Zalze. We had you on the show up in Victoria a few weeks ago, drinking some Cab Classique and raising a toast to some bubbles of yours that have done particularly well. It really is a golden period for Kleine Zalze at the moment. You can't not enter a wine and win something.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to put off the cellar radio quickly. Just hang on.
There we go. The flat-out job of being a winemaker. They're actually looking for us. All right, there we go.
Sorry, I just let you turn this off. Yeah,
was that them messaging you, RJ, to tell you you'd won another award?
Actually, they want me to go and taste off on the bottling line, so they can wait. No, yes, Dan, it's been an amazing 18 months, an amazing, a wonderful experience. And you know what? It's a culmination of a lot of things, and it's specific vintages. It is hard work over the last 5 to 10 years working with our vineyards, getting to understand our vineyards, and not just specifically to Chenin, but over a wide range of everything that we do. Getting to know how our barrels are going to work with specific sites, working with our viticulturists and our grape growers. Working every day, talking to them, and I think it's just everything comes together. And at the moment, it's just singing. The wines are singing. Everything is working in the cellar. An amazing journey so far.
All right, which sees you in a space where, as I say, award after award after award comes in. what do these awards mean? And don't give me the standard winemaker, we don't do anything for the awards, it's purely because we enjoy the wine. You're only human. When you get them, they must put a smile on your face. They must give you a certain degree of not justification, but mate, you realize that all this hard work we're putting in is really worth it.
Yeah, no, for sure. We are definitely seen as a bigger winery in the scheme of things in South Africa, a bigger family business. And we made the conscious decision to try and premiumize about 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 5 years. And all of these awards that we are winning now just helps to, it is echoing what we thought we can do and what we wanted to do. And it is helping for us to realize our dream, to actually premiumize and so that the public out there can actually see Kleine Zalze as a premium wine producer. Winning awards is always nice. It is an amazing feeling being part of the top 10. It's an amazing feeling doing well at Platter. It just gives you that nod that again we are what we are doing well. Where we are focusing, and we are making wines that we enjoy drinking, but that other people are also enjoying, and that they are seeing the quality. Ken mentioned that Alastair, the Morgenzon team and the Stellenrust team, they booked their places already for next year. If you go on how we go about it at Kleine Zalze, we do 2 every 2 years. So we won't see you next year, but we'll see you with a double one in 2024 again.
I wouldn't bet against that. I think a great illustration of where your wine has gone is that if I think back a decade ago, maybe even less, of the 3 tiers, people tended to think, right, well, the restaurant was right at the very top, terroir, then the golf course, then the wines are quite nice as well. And now my sense is very much the wines have top spot there, which is nothing about the restaurant or the golf course dropping, just the wine has taken that big step up. Some more from you on Chenin in a second. Let's head over to the duo at Stellenrust. Guys, a warm welcome to fixtures, as Ken Forrester says, on this particular list. And Stellenrust is obviously a home of Chenin and one where the art of making this particular wine is so cherished. Just give us a sense of how you guys work together and what your role is within this Stellenbosch assault on the top 10 list.
Yeah, thanks so much. And it's been quite an honor for Stellenrust to be a part of the top 10 so many years in a row. And not only the honor of receiving the trophy, but also allocating that funds to our local farm workers. And we just to myself, I met Herman at Elsenburg while studying there. And it's just been amazing to work alongside an amazing winemaker and Tertius Bolshoff. I'm now more on the marketing side of the business, although in harvest time I help out a little, and then usually they kick me out because I talk too much. And Herman is also a man of the Chenin.
Yeah, I started at Stellenrust in 2014. And we've been with the top 10 for quite a while now. And as I said, if we start not getting into the top 10, we're doing something wrong. Probably it could be in the vineyards, could be in the cellar. We're not a big producer, we're one of the estates. So if we start chucking up, we don't have extra blocks. This block is 43 years old. We can't just say, okay, this block won't work. We need this specific fruit-driven wine or old wine, and we don't have a lot of that. So but I've started at Stellenrust in 2014 under Tertius. He's like the cellar master owner, a very difficult guy. That's why the Chenin's so good. It's not an easy chef to work with. But enjoying. It's a great learning curve to start here and enjoy and start learning how actually to produce good Chenins, and rolled over in some of our other wines. And it's quite a privilege to start from getting out of Elsenburg and starting here at Stellenrust.
He's not an easy guy to work with. He's quite difficult. And I think your Christmas bonus might have just gone out the window, but you're making some award-winning Chenins. Andre, give us a sense from the marketing perspective, which is more of your space in terms of selling Chenin Blanc. Is it becoming easier to sell Chenin, and particularly premium Chenin, more so than, we'll say, 10 years ago, in terms of how people are understanding it and appreciating it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Chenin is really, truly one of the gems of South Africa, and the amazing work that Ina and the team, and also Ken, has put into the Chenin Blanc Association. You can really see it paying off, and people starting to notice Chenin Blanc, even the light and fruitier style ones becoming more popular. I think it was about 3 years ago. Even though we produce such big Chenins, and we have over 13 SKUs of different Chenin styles and everything, we always sold more Sauvignon Blanc of the mid-range through the tasting room. And that was, I think, 3 years ago, November, the sales just swapped around. Our Chenin overtook the Sauvignon Blanc, and that was something amazing to see, and also to see that hard work is paying off. And we have these beautiful vineyards to work with in South Africa, and even in Stellenbosch, all these old vineyards. And I think our terroir here is so suited for the varietal to produce the quality that we can put on the table.
Herman, you're not unused to winning stuff for what you do. I think it was 2 years ago you were the Diners Club Young Winemaker of the Year with I think it was a white Cinsault or something really odd that the judges clearly liked. What does winning that sort of recognition mean to you as a winemaker?
No, as I said, then you're definitely doing something right. But Tertius, I started on a Tertius here, and he showed me the ropes, and he showed me everything. And there's no gray area. It's black and white. It's right and wrong. That's why, again, I've been actually nominated again for the White Cinsault in 2020, the 2020 White Cinsault for Young Winemaker of the Year. But yeah, it's quite a confidence booster, I must say.
Yeah, I need to try some of that white Cinsault. I haven't had it as yet. I think, am I right, Herman? When you win that prize, you get a trip to some cool winemaking area. If that is right, where did you go when you won your trip?
I went nowhere because COVID started. So hopefully I get a better chance this year.
Waiting for players.
Oh dear! I think you get a weekend in Durbanville, so that's your big prize. All right, let's have a look at the wine in particular. Ken, if we look at the wine that won, I think most people would automatically expect it to be the FMC. I suspect the FMC probably wasn't entered into this particular competition, but something else was. Tell me about this new and slightly unusual Chenin Blanc of yours.
Dan, I kind of started looking around beyond Stellenbosch. I have this kind of notion in my head that Chenin Blanc requires cool sunshine. I was quite happy to harp on about it, tell people about it. And if you go look at the Swartland, there's not a lot of cool sunshine in the Swartland. There are a lot of cool hipsters, there's a lot of cool walks, but there's not a lot of cool sunshine out there. And I thought to myself, let's have a look at this Swartland fruit and exactly what it offers. And my take on that is that what you get in Swartland is, I think the vines, obviously, most often they're dry land. I think the roots are probably much deeper. And without any shadow of a doubt in my mind, you're getting a lot more minerality. You're getting a lot more extract of the soil. Chenin, I've always said, is a wonderful kind of descriptor. It'll tell you where it's from. I mean, it's like an accent. Every Chenin has an accent of where it's from. You can tell whether it's from Belfast or from further north, further south. Not much further north than that, is there? So Chenin Blanc specifically tells you where it's from, and this Swartland Chenin tells you specifically where it's from. It's got the most wonderful, not earthy, but stone quartz clarity to it. It's a real minerality, and I'm excited as hell. I think that's just great. I mean, I just keep on learning. I just keep on exploring. And Chenin Blanc, we were fortunate enough to be able to register the name Terre Noire, Swartland, Black Land. And this is wine of origin Swartland, proudly wine of origin Swartland. It's from a vineyard which turned 35 years old for this vintage. So it is, in fact, just qualified as old wine as well. So I'm really excited about what this vineyard could do in the future. In fact, this is two separate vineyards, but they both qualify, and I'm really excited about what we can do with this going forward.
Amongst the many things that this wine says, given that the great Ken Forrester is spreading his wings and exploring further afield, is the extent to which the versatility of Chenin still has to be tapped into. How there seems to be so much more that a grape that's already had a fair bit of work done on it can expand more, can do more, can give us yet more expressions of Chenin Blanc.
Then there's more and more to discover. You know, we're still scratching the surface. There's some really wonderful Chenin Blanc sites that perhaps haven't entered, haven't got into the competition. And I would suggest that you're going to see some great Chenins coming up that we didn't know happened. Every time I look, there's a new Chenin Blanc producer. There's a new Chenin Blanc, and you know, you've got to really try hard to find wine that's not happy to drink. I mean, there's a lot of very decent, happy Chenin Blanc.
And we are seeing many examples of it over the course of this week. This is the first of 2 episodes in celebration of the Chenin Blanc Association's Standard Bank Top 10 for 2021. Amongst them is the reserve from de Morgansen. Alastair, I suspect you're well into your 3rd or 4th glass at the moment, purely for the purposes of research. As we cross back to you and your magnificent shirt, tell us a little bit about this wine. And you've got an interesting perspective on it, because it's wine that, as you say, found its way into the bottle before you touched down at de Morgansen.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. I mean, de Morgansen Chenin is been a standard bearer for South African Chenin for many years. I'm also fortunate enough, I studied with one of the previous cellar masters, and the guy that really sort of established de Morgansen and put it into its standing in the South African wine industry, Carl van der Merwe. And he's the guy that made this wine. So he's an old mate of mine, and to be able to present his wine is a privilege for me, and to take his grounding and the base that he's laid and build on it and move it forward. I had a long chat to him the other day just before I took the job here, and you know, he was quite excited that one of his old mates was going to take over the baton and sort of build onto it. As I said, de Morgansen is a unique site. It sits within the bounds of Stellenbosch, but its aspect, its altitude above sea level, how it looks back at False Bay, that's echoed on our label, is the view back from where the vineyard is situated back to False Bay. And Ken talked about cool sunshine, and an old mentor early on in my career talked about the best wines in the world are the cool sites in the warm areas and the warm sites in the cool areas. And if you look at Stellenbosch aggregately, I'd say it's more Mediterranean. It is more broadly classified as a warm site. And de Morgansen sits in as a particularly cool site within it. We've got, you know, this vineyard sits at about 250 to 300 meters above sea level. It's our old vineyard. It was planted in 1972. So when this wine was made, if my maths is right, it would have been 48 years old. So it's got great maturity, got great depth, and it also rides out the seasons. Its big root structures allow it to ride out the variance in the season. I think that's why it's so consistent. As well as being a cool site, it gives us, you know, in the warm years, we're cool enough to preserve freshness, but in the cooler, wetter years, you know, we get enough sunshine. So we're in the broader warm area to get that consistent ripening that allows us to make this consistently brilliant wine year in, year out. And yeah, granite soils. We sought, when I was at Kleine Zalze, we sought out sites that were decomposed granite. We felt that the minerality that you get off them is exceptional, and this site is just a pure expression of what Chenin can do on a great site. And the clone is also quite an interesting one. Genetically, they haven't been able to track it, and we've got Vititech onto cloning this and multiplying the clone for us, so that if we establish any new younger vineyards, we can use the clone off this old parcel of fruit, to try and give us unique Chenins going forward. Because I think we've also got to remember old vines are brilliant, but we also need to propagate young vineyards that will be the old vines of the future for us, and make sure that Chenin Blanc is planted on the best sites in the best areas. This wine is exceptional. It's an unbelievable expression of what Stellenbosch Chenin can be and should be.
So it's a combination of some fantastic terroir, some great soils there, of history, some old vines have been going for a long time, of the cool sunshine or the warm cool shine, or however you phrase it. But then there's also the element when it comes to De Morgansen of music. Are you still banging out Baroque tunes on pianos to your grapes to keep them happy?
Yeah, absolutely. It was part of my interview. Could I handle a grand piano and play till wee hours of the morning? Which I failed horribly, but luckily I know how to use the MP3 player, and yeah, we do still. And you know, there's science and there's lots of studies. I don't worry too much about that. I rather look at the end results. And if the music's contributing to it, we're all happy to it. But we do have alarmingly consistent style and quality here. And I must say, it's if nothing else, it makes for happy and calm and peaceful vineyard workers while they're working. You know, a happy and calm worker is pruning well and working in the vineyards well, and that effectively makes sure that we've got great vineyards year in, year out, and that these old dames of our vineyard area are well looked after and well nurtured to make sure that they're not only here for us to enjoy and make great wines from, that generations after us will be making wine from the same vineyards.
They also make for a happy and cheerful and relaxed winemaker by the looks of things, and why not? Going great guns in the new role at De Morgansen. If we look at the Kleine Zalze range, Jay, not one but two of the top 10 coming from Kleine Zalze, and at a quick glance, it would seem little more than a nomenclature changing the two. One is the reserve, one is the family vineyard, and yet having tasted them both, they are strikingly different. People who haven't had them yet, describe to us not just why the wines themselves are different, but what the process is that is giving you these two wines that sit beside each other but have very much their own identities.
Yeah, our philosophy with Chenin is a little bit different to, what Ken and working with only two vineyards in the Swartland, and Alastair working with a single vineyard. We work with a lot of different parcels around Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch being our main focus, and we really feel that is that some of the, not some of the best Chenin comes from the sites specifically closer to False Bay, for me personally. And so we work with a bunch of different vineyards, and we work specifically with bush vines. So I took the liberty of getting a bit of a prop here for you, just for anybody that didn't know what a bush vine looks like. It's an old, this one is probably 30 or 40 years old. It's a vine that grows out of the soil. There's no trellis system. There's no nothing. So, it's an amazing vineyard. And they, within these little vineyards, you get all these different flavor profiles. And that is what makes them so special. Most of them are particularly very old. There is some young ones coming online now, and as Alastair mentioned, we need some younger vineyards to grow old again. And we are very fortunate at Kleine Zalze that we work with a magnitude of old vineyards, and we've never in the past actually certified them as old vineyards, and because we didn't want to be bound by certifying our family reserve as old vineyards, and then maybe the next year there's a younger parcel that we feel is better. It always we wanted to make the best possible wine. Just for interest's sake, we did today go through the exercise of having a look at what all our old vineyards, and I think we might be, when we certify everything, be the biggest producer of old vine Chenin if we go forth with it. We are looking at an excess of about 400 or 500 tons of Chenin Blanc that we harvest that will be certified old vines from next year. So the family reserve is specifically old vineyards. They are planted around 1977. Some vineyards close to False Bay, 2 of them closer to False Bay, and 1 a little bit more inland. And yeah, these very, very specific old vineyards, old bush vines, as I've showed you. And I think the idea with it is that we want to respect the fruit. We want to show what the sites are giving us. And most of our vineyards are planted in these decomposed granite soils, which brings in that minerality and that earthiness that we are hunting. We are looking for that texture and that linearity of these specific sites. We've been working with we've done extensive work on amphora wines, and the family reserve 2020 that was part of the top 10 was the first. The 2020 was the first vintage where there was a portion of amphora fermented Chenin Blanc blended in as well. And again, we are hunting that site-specific minerality that we get from our wonderful soils. The rest is barrel fermented and no new oak. Nothing. We feel that the oak is always dominating the flavor profile that Chenin has. That very elegant fruit structure or texture that we get. So we don't want to overpower that. We want only older oak just as a vessel. Get that wine, just build some palate weight and work with the fruit. So yeah, an amazing wine. Old vineyards, barrel fermented. And yeah, we try not to do too much work on the wines in the cellar. It usually ferments, and we do one racking afterwards, and then we bottle it through a fly trap on the way to the bottling line. So yeah, an amazing wine, and the vineyard selection on the other side, as you mentioned, it's a wine that's got its own identity. Also from bush vines, there we spread our sourcing a little bit wider. So we work with some wines from False Bay and Furgrove area, but there's some big portions coming from Bottleray Hevels. Up the top there behind Netlingshof, in those areas as well. Again, also barrel fermented. I think something that we do quite different to other guys is that we give a little bit of skin contact before we go into ferment. So we extract a little bit of that skin tannins and the phenols that we get, and it just helps to build the fruit and the texture of the wines again. Yeah, 2 amazing wines, amazing vineyards, and we look forward to many more years of old vines, and also to getting some of our new vineyards that have been planted in the last couple of years to get them to that old vine status, and making sure that those wines or those vines stay in the ground and they stay profitable.
The story of old vine and Chenin is one that recurs more and more and more when we talk about Chenin Blanc in South Africa, and very happily so, because we're seeing the rewards of looking after and nurturing those older vines and producing wine that is very special. There are old vines that play with Stellenrust, but they take another step in the direction of being something unique. They're not just old vines, they're old bush vines. Team Stellenrust, just give us a sense of what it is about these old vines and being old bush vines that allow you to create this wine that has caught the attention of the judges and done so well.
Yeah, so the old bush vine Chenin Blanc is one of our 14 SKUs of Chenin. We love Chenin so much, so we make it in all different styles. And I think that's one of the beauties of Chenin as well, because it produces such a beautiful natural acidity. You can really craft it into any style. And working with these old vines is really phenomenal. And I think that is one of our big successes, being able to win consecutive top 10 Standard Bank Chenin 5-star platters, high ratings at the Atkin, the list is quite long with these old bushvine Chenins, but it just shows the consistency. And even through the drought that we had a few years back, I think it was 2018, and we had a consistent yield, although they only produce about 1.5 to 2 tons per hectare. You get that consistently. Just to put that into perspective, we average on about 7 to 8 tons per hectare on most of our vineyards, and a good average for Stellenbosch is between 12 and 14 tons per hectare. So a vineyard delivering 2 tons per hectare, you really got to be sure there's good grapes coming off it. So yeah, with this particular vineyard is 43 years old. It's planted on a northeasterly slope, and so it catches most of the morning sun, and afternoon it's a little bit overshaded. So that allows a slower ripening, and you get more mineral forward wines. And yeah, these old bush vines is just a phenomenal thing, and I think it's making Herman's work in the winery also quite easy. He is the guy that gives the barrels the love every day, so he'll tell a little bit more about the winemaking itself.
Just to get back to the vineyards, most of our Chenin Blanc is actually bush vine. We started planting in, as RJ said, we started planting in new Chenin blocks, the Nevin Chenin blocks. Also bush vine. They will probably be all bush vine when I retired. Hopefully I get there. But yeah, on the winemaking side, the vineyard doesn't produce a lot. Slower ripening, as Heinrich said, but it's better retention of acidity. Old block of vineyard, old barrels. We put the wine in all the barrels as we want to keep the retention of the fruit in the barrels. It lies in the barrel for about 7 months. During harvest, when we put the juice, it's skin contact, and then we put the juice in the barrels just to get a bit more of extraction out of the skins. When the fermentation starts, we normally start drinking brandy here at about 12, and we never stop until it starts fermenting. And then we start praying. It's wild ferment, so it's always a risky business to do wild fermentation, but it's a true showcase of terroir when you do a dry wild fermentation, and you can actually see this in this wine.
I think you can see why Herman is a young winemaker of the year, and possibly going to be young winemaker again. I love the approach to making the wine. Greg Sherwood's watching at the moment from London. FMC and Dirty Little Secret, 2 incredible expressions from Uncle Ken, says Greg, one of our foremost wine critics and connoisseurs. He follows up with also some incredible wines from De Morgansen, Kleine Zalze Reserve Range, and Stellenrust. Well, it's Stellenrust that is Herman's stock in trade. Would it be fair to say then, Herman, that you guys are at a stage now where, yes, you make a range of wine, you make a fabulous range of wine, but if people ask you what your calling card is, the range of different ones you make, you'd say quite clearly, yep, it's Chenin Blanc.
Yeah, so I think Chenin Blanc has become the head boy on the farm. We've always just purely worked with the varietals we have on the farm and the varietals we know. Although you always experiment a little Pinot Noir here, something funky from Spain there, but you always stick to your roots. And I think Chenin and Pinotage as well is so a big part of our roots, and having these beautiful vines on the farm. And I know Herman, he also comes from a long history of winemaking. So even with his father, I think Chenin was a big part.
Yeah, I actually come from this area. My whole life radius is about 15 kilometers. That's what I know. So yeah, the old vines and which I really like, especially with the Bottleray area. I come from the area, and it's a very underrated area. It used to be an underrated area. But as you can see, with wines coming, Pinotage coming from Stellenrust side, from Bottleray side, Chenin coming from Bottleray side, even the Senso coming from Bottleray side. So it's promoting the Bottleray area.
You're also promoting your own area as a result of this. I want to find out in just a moment how you're doing it. Quickly, I see Wendy Applebaum is watching. Thanks, Greg. We're very proud and humbled. That's in response to Greg giving thumbs up to de Morgansen. And thumbs up to Wendy, who is proprietor of de Morgansen. Not many people know this. She tastes every single wine de Morgansen makes every single morning before breakfast just to see how it's doing. Now, that is a dedicated owner of a wine estate. And let's go back to Stellenrust quickly, guys. One of the big wins for this is not just the kudos, not just, oh, we're in the top 10, we've made some great Chenin, we're sitting amongst other fabulous producers, but also that you get a nice check from Standard Bank, and it's not one that goes for your next holiday. You're not off to the Maldives to celebrate. Instead, you have to use that money and put it into a community project. What is your project?
So then me and Herman, we planned actually a very nice trip to Bali. No, I'm joking. We started a BE project in 2004, and shortly after we got fair trade certification. Because we have 90 farm workers that lives on the farm. It's almost like a whole town that lives on the farm. And you really, I mean, with that big of a involved staff, it created a whole family and generations working on the farm. So every year we've been very blessed to win this nice check every year, and we put that back to the farm workers, where they decide alongside with the fair trade money how they're going to utilize it. They have built a soccer field on the farm, a creche for the kids, because obviously the parents go to work, but where do you send your kids? And I mean, kids is very important aspect of your life. So we decided to enrich that part of education for their kids, and we built a new creche on the farm. We've built so far also a computer room on the farm that some of the youngsters in high school and primary school can utilize to develop those skills. And it's all about putting back into the people of the farm and giving them the opportunity to go and study something else and not just be another farm worker on the farm. And that's also been a big philosophy of old Uncle George. Kobe's father was the previous CEO of the farm. He just wanted to give back to the people who put the hard work into the vineyards, and ultimately it just shows in the wine.
I think it's a wonderful encapsulation of exactly what the spirit of this award is about, and well done on such a great project. And your continuous run of victories in the top 10 has allowed you to continue to support the community in this way. So well done, guys. Now, I love what you're doing there. Let's see what RJ is up to. Kleine Zalze, you guys also received your check from Standard Bank for your top 10 spot. Then you received another check from Standard Bank for another top 10 spot. So your community is laughing away. Where's the money going? What are you guys doing with the prize?
Yeah, so we have a Black-owned company at the moment called Lysiacept, trading as Visu Vintners, and they actually have a long-term lease agreement with the municipality. They rent they've got about 8 hectares, or they will have 10 hectares of planted vineyards by the end of next year already, which is also part of the bigger Kleine Zalze scheme and within our perimeter. And the business started a couple of years ago as a concept idea, and they are now a 51% Black-owned company owned by our Workers Trust, and the money we are donating to them. And but the money will be used for something very specific at the moment, and they have won their first wine tender going into Norway. And the money will be used in the next week or two for developing a wine brand and label for their new business, and also developing a website for their new business. So it goes into the development of our Workers' Trust BEE company.
That is
which
fantastic.
Is very, very exciting. Yeah, it's amazing.
Really is.
It's an amazing process.
And not only supporting the community, but doing so through the medium of wine and extending the growth of the wine community under your broader umbrella. It's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful home for money, and it's a great way to see Chenin Blanc being celebrated so innovatively. So good luck there, and we'll have to have some of that wine on the show soon and see what the Norwegians have waiting for them when it gets over to Scandinavia. That's terrific, terrific news. All right, Alastair de Morgansen, you guys have got a very welcome, a very well-deserved check. It goes to the community. How's it going? Where is it going?
Yeah, we're struggling this year. Our workers committee every year gets together and sort of figures out a new project on where to donate the money or utilize the money. Yeah, historically we've supported various after-school care programs through the Pebbles Foundation, etc., and the Anna Foundation in the past. And this year we're sitting with our team, and I think they're running out of ideas. 7 consecutive years they've supported a lot of different projects. At the moment, we're not 100% sure where we're going to actually use this specific money, but it'll definitely be an upliftment to our workers. Through one of the various projects that we've supported in the past. We've got quite an extensive support network through various avenues. Wendy obviously does a lot of work in her personal capacity, and various foundations that she's involved with in the community. And so we're looking at various ways to utilize the money a bit better. We have our own market garden, for lack of better words, nursery on the property that produces fresh produce and vegetables, etc., for the staff at the Morgenzon, so that they weekly get support from that. So we might utilize, one of the ideas on the table is to utilize some of that money to extend that scheme, that we can extend the fresh produce and vegetables that go to our staff on a weekly basis.
Well, I'll tell you what, Alastair, we're seeing each other, I think, in a few weeks' time to try some of your, I think it might be some of your Chardonnay. So when I see you then, we'll see if we can get an update and keep an eye on where that money's going. I know it's going to go somewhere great because, as you say, De Morgansen has got a long history of philanthropy across the board. And wherever that money goes, it's going to help the community, as it has done now for 7 years in a row. No pressure, Mr. Rimmer, as your own first vintages start coming through. Let's wrap up with our stand-in Father Christmas. He's got a busy time in shopping malls in the coming months, but while he's still making some wine, Ken Forrester, you've got a check from Standard Bank. I know how much you do with the community around Ken Forrester Vineyards, and it's a very engaged space. Where is your money going?
Dan, we've enlisted the staff team to kind of get together as a committee. We've offered to match the Standard Bank investment to give them another 25,000. So they've got 50,000 to invest. And at this stage, the short discussion is that they're looking at setting up their own brand or their own indigenous nursery, that they feel that they could farm a nursery on the farm and create indigenous cuttings plants and grow them out and then end up selling them. The concept was I gave to them was that I wanted them to make sure that whatever they did was sustainable so that we could continue doing this. It didn't help just to sink 25,000 Rand in the hole. And to that effect, we decided to double the money, to add our contribution and to ask them how they'd like to do that. So the jury is out. We're waiting for the feedback from the final committee, and we'll support them and back the staff whichever way they want to go.
All right. Again, it's just another great example of wine and winemakers coming together and really supporting the local communities. And it's such a great aspect of this particular award. Before we wrap up, Ken, just one last word from you. Take off your Ken Forrester cap for a second. Pop on the Chenin Blanc chairman. We're sitting down a year from now. Possibly you're in the top 10, possibly not. Either way, you're still going to be mad about Chenin Blanc. What would you like to see between now and this time next year? What is there that maybe we're still not quite doing just right, but maybe we need to put a little bit more work into in terms of South African Chenin Blanc?
Dan, our biggest competition for Chenin Blanc, it would seem, is Sauvignon Blanc, and they outsell us. So that's on our cards. We're looking, we're chasing, and we want to sell more Chenin Blanc. And so we think we've got a winning formula. We don't denigrate, don't take away from Sauvignon for a minute. I think there are fantastic Sauvignons produced in this country, and the game's on. You know, let's see, let the best man win. But Chenin Blanc, I think, contributes to so many fine blends in the country and does really, really well in so many guises, so many different guises. At this stage, there are a few sparkling MCC Chenin Blanc, not many. You know, why not? I believe almost 60% of the French Chenin Blanc crop becomes sparkling wine, Cremant. So we don't see that because they drink it. It's very simple. It's consumable. Perhaps we could be doing Chenin Blanc, more sparkling Chenin Blanc. There's still so many avenues. There's so much to go, so much going on. And so many young vineyards. There's still a lot of younger Chenin Blanc to come through. Younger winemakers are constantly coming up with new ideas. And what I really, really thoroughly love about the whole kind of my kids, my colleagues' kids, these guys just think Chenin Blanc is the natural default. It's what South Africa's been gifted. I couldn't agree more.
And we've seen that gift across a small but very impressive spectrum today. And we'll have more Chenin Blanc on Thursday. Before I tell you who is on the list, let me say a very quick thank you to Ken, both our chairman and one of our top 10 for 2021. Also to Heinrich and to Herman out at Stellenrust. A big thank you to you, to RJ at Kleine Zalze, and also to Alastair de Morgansen. Guys, thank you all. Really appreciate the time. And congratulations to all of you. Wonderful wine, wonderful stories. So thank you very much indeed.
Cheers.
So Dan.
Cheers.
Now I see Grant Sauls is watching over on YouTube. FMC is top class. Well, there is a final endorsement to wrap up. Well, it's been a lot of fun with Chenin Blanc. There's more fun to come on Thursday. Who have we got? Liv Lunt will be joining us. Guardian Peak joining us. Bellingham, Labelle Rebel, and Simonsuch. So there we go. The remainder of our top 10 from this extraordinary selection of Chenin Blanc that has once again given the variety such a thunderous endorsement via the judges who gave it such a resounding thumbs up after this year's judging process. That does it for me, coming to you live today from Pazula, where I am for a couple of days with the BMW team. I shall be back in Johannesburg. In fact, I think I'm coming to you from the River Club on Thursday. I have an event there, so we'll jump in and talk more Chenin Blanc. A huge thank you to Standard Bank for supporting the top 10 and for giving out the money that then goes into the communities. And as you heard this evening, the project communities, the initiatives being supported are both diverse and fabulous. And a huge thank you to Ina Smith, who does such a remarkable job in flying that flag for Chenin Blanc, both here in South Africa and well beyond. Enjoy the rest of your Monday evening. Thanks again to all of our guests. Look out over the course of this week and next week. There's some new releases coming up, stuff we shot at the Saxon, great range of wine. There is also coming up a great conversation with Wineish, that quartet of wine lovers from Johannesburg, and time with Dave Farrell from Lincoln Park on the horizon as well. Just loads of great wine to talk about and celebrate as we move towards the end of 2021. Have a great Monday. We'll see you live on Thursday with more Chenin Blanc. Cheers. To join the Pick and Pay Wine Club, simply SMS your smart shopper number to 36775. It's absolutely free, and you'll get for yourself 3 times the smart shopper points on every bottle of wine bought. You'll also get a 20% discount on 10 different wines each month, a 25% discount on a case of wine, and a Magnum, some terrific competitions and invitations to awesome events.